Wow. Well, it is the week that a lot of fans have waited for. It's free agency week opening up in the NFL, and honest, it seems like it seems like only yesterday, right? The Super Bowl, and now it's now it's free agency. The Eagles have a lot of things to do, and can they solve everything in one offseason free agency and draft? Probably not. They are a bit handcuffed with where they stand financially with the cap. They can move a few players to help out. Maybe they still will. It's a little surprising they haven't. I mean, Leotis McKelvin left. I don't think any of us are shedding any tears over that one. That didn't quite work out. Of course, many cornerbacks who were brought in as free agents haven't really worked out since Asante Samuel. If you think about it, which is that was a while ago. Now, one of the big topics of discussion, and I know I've watched my fellow Eagle fans' videos. I just finished watching E-Rock's video, and he made a lot of great points. Um, of course, we talk about Brandon Cooks, the wide receiver from the Saints, who the Saints are dangling out there at trade. And the Eagles are one of the teams rumored to have interest in it. And I heard over the weekend, I listened to Sports Talk Radio, and they said this isn't new. The Eagles actually had interest in trying to make a trade for about a month. So they were in some, discussions, with the Saints. So they've had. I mean, they wanted to draft Cooks. It didn't work out. They weren't able to. The Saints got him a few picks before. Of course, that was the year they drafted Smith. That didn't really work out, that one. But Cooks was drafted, and then Clinton Dix got drafted just before, and then they took a guy who should have been a third round pick. That that didn't quite work out. But no, they've had an interest in Cooks since that draft, and apparently they've been in communication for about a month, trying to kick the tires on it, see what it would take. I don't know how aggressive they're going to be. Maybe that's a good or bad thing. Time will tell. There's been talk that the Titans are going to, pursue him pretty good. The Patriots apparently offered their first round pick, which is the last pick in the first round. So, that was a nice try by them. But they they thought they would get in on it. The Saints apparently already turned that one down. Nah, that's okay, Bill. You can be happy with your rings. We're not going to take that pick. And there's pros and cons with making a move like that. It's always risky to give up a first round pick for any player. Any player. I mean, look, the Vikings gave up a first round pick for Bradford. I think Cooks would be a little better to give up a first round pick for than Sam Bradford. But then again, the Vikings felt that they needed a quarterback. They needed to do it. Bridgewater got hurt, was out for the year, and they did it. And for a while, it looked like it may have even worked out for them. But then, yeah. So there are a lot of pros and cons with giving up any pick for a player, particularly a first-round pick. And particularly with the fact that the draft is here. The Eagles won the coin toss to get 14 over the Colts this past Friday. Howie Roseman was very happy about that. So I don't know if they're going to give up that 14th pick to get Brandon Cooks. And maybe you don't have to. Maybe in the end it takes a second-round pick and a player. Or a second round and a pick from next year's draft to get it done. Maybe. Maybe they're just trying to call a team's bluff. But then again, maybe not. Maybe the Titans, do it and they bowl them over with an offer and the Saints take it. As an Eagles fan, I can't control what this team does. I can talk about it here on YouTube, but I have no say in what they do. I have ideas of what I'd like to see them do, and I would love to see them get Brandon Cooks. I mean, the thing about him, and I think some of the fans have kind of pushed it aside. The guy's 23 years old. He's the same age as Carson Wentz. They share the same agent, at least for now. he's a young wide receiver. He has many good years ahead of him, and I understand, well, you can draft a wide receiver at number 14, maybe like a Mike Williams out of Clemson. You can do that. They can certainly do that. I have a feeling they might go corner there if they stay at 14, unless one of those receivers are still there. So basically, if you make that trade and you bring in Cooks, and he's again he's 23 years old, he has many years ahead of him. Here's a guy who's already showed so much in 2 years, and I get it. He plays half his games in a dome. He has a future Hall of Famer throwing him the ball. It helps. It does. I've watched enough of this game to know that helps. I also know that teams with the great wide receivers don't always win. I mean, the Lions with Megatron all those years never won a playoff game. The Steelers with Antonio Brown, arguably the best receiver in the game, haven't gone to a Super Bowl yet with him. I get that, but then again, the Falcons go to a Super Bowl with Julio Jones. I mean, it's both sides. You can talk to me about the Patriots all you want about, well, they never had this or that. Well, they had Brady and Belichick. I think that helps just a little bit. It's like the Spurs with Popovich and Duncan Ginobili Parker. I mean, that helps. It helps to have the mastermind and the player. It does. I mean, come on. So I get that. The Patriots are always going to be the exception to the rule, no matter what you say. They are always the exception to the rule. They are just one of those generational teams that it doesn't matter. They can get the worst player on the worst team, and that player could put up Pro Bowl numbers on that team. That's just how it is. I mean, they are in their own stratosphere, So when you talk about what the Eagles need, and come on, what did we watch last season? Exactly, with this wide receiving core. Yeah, I remember it too. I still wake up at night in cold sweats, remembering some of those games. I mean, you had wide receivers who were afraid of their own shadow. You had wide receivers who played the juggle game every time the ball came to them when they were wide open. Just, I don't know what to do. So I like Jordan Matthews. I think he still has a place on this team. I know there's been rumors now that he's on the trade block. But I haven't seen... I saw Jordan Matthews when he was a rookie, and he put up some decent numbers as a rookie when he had Jeremy Maclin on the other, at the one side, having an all-pro season. So we saw him once when he had a Pro Bowl caliber receiver on the other side, and he put up decent numbers. Was he putting up eyeball popping numbers? No, but he had a solid year his rookie year. He did, and he had a bona fide number one receiver on the outside. He's in the slot. Put up some good numbers. I think we could see similar numbers to that, maybe even better if you bring a Brandon Cooks on the other side of him to play on the outside. What else is Brandon Cooks? I mean, we love Deshaun Jackson here. Still one of my all-time favorite Eagles. Wish they never moved on from him. It's Chip Kelly being an idiot why they did. But Deshaun Jackson was an electric wide receiver. I mean, he just was. He brought fear to opposing defenses. When they played the Eagles, you had to know where number 10 was. And what did number 10 do? He opened things up for the other guys on the team. And it was an explosive offense. Now, did they win a playoff game with that offense? No. But were they fun to watch? Hell yeah. Would you take that over last season? Yeah. 10 out of 10 times. I would take it. Brandon Cooks is a young wide receiver who has many good years left in him. And he's basically a younger version of Deshaun Jackson right now. What Deshaun Jackson is now, Cooks is a younger version. And oh, by the way, he wears number 10 with the Saints. So he comes here. Yeah, Daniel, you gotta bring up that. You gotta give up that number. Sorry, can't wear it. Or if they do somehow bring Deshaun Jackson back as a free agent, yeah, you gotta give up that number. That's just how it is. The other thing I like about Cooks is he's still under contract. He's still in his rookie contract. He has another year and an option year. So they don't have to break the bank to have him this season. Now they're going to have to pay him, obviously. They can pay him next off season. They can pay him even during the season somehow. I would prefer that they bring him in. If they bring him in, if they make that trade and he comes here and they give up the number 14 pick, I would prefer they didn't pay him right away. Because let's see what he is on this offense. I think it's going to work out. I think they come in here. I think, he and Carson Wentz can have that chemistry and let's go. I think it would work out. But we don't know. So why pay the guy a king's ransom until you know exactly what he's going to bring to the team? And I think that's one of the things I like about Cooks, about making a trade for him, because you don't have to spend all that money on one guy. You have other needs, and this team, does have their, cap-wise, they're not one of the upper echelons, so they do still have other players you have to bring in. If you bring in a free agent wide receiver, I don't think they're going to get an Alshon Jeffrey, and even a Deshaun Jackson would probably be a long shot, or Terrell Pryor. And I'd love to see Terrell Pryor here, but it would be a long shot because they just don't have the money they can throw at him. And I don't think they're going to throw money at one guy. I think they're going to spread it out a bit, where they're going to, there was a rumor they said that they wanted to get 2 wide receivers at free agency. Now, whether they go bargain basement on both of them, who knows? But there's some veteran wide receivers out there. I'd like to see them get one of those veteran wide receivers to teach some of the young kids on this team what it is to play the position. That's something they didn't have last year, and it showed. Oh, yeah, it definitely did. I mean, Jordan Matthews was the elder statesman at wide receiver last year. So, and he was just drafted a few years ago. So, yeah, I mean, that's all you really needed to know about the wide receiving core a year ago. As maddening as they were young, they were raw. And that's what you're going to get out of a young and raw wide receiving core, any core. That's what you're going to get out of that. And like I said, bringing in Brandon Cooks, yeah, he's a young receiver, but I'd like to see them parlay that by bringing in a veteran receiver. Even if they bring in Cooks as a free agent, I'd still like to see them bring in a veteran receiver, whether it's a Kenny Britt or a Pierre Garçon or an Anquan Bolden, insert name here. I'd still like to see them bring in a guy who's going to teach some of these young kids something, even teach Cooks, what it is to play the position in this league. And I know there's been all this talk about, I'm blanking on the kid's name, the rookie, I believe, last season with the Saints, had a big year. And it's one of the reasons why Cooks is being, possibly traded. And, yeah, I mean, he did. Was it Thomas, I think was his name? Yeah, he had a big year, but you have to remember, you have Cooks on the other side. So when you have a receiver like Cooks that's that speed demon, you got to atone for that as a defense that opens things up for other guys, for other receivers, whether it's a veteran receiver, a young receiver. We saw that here for years. What did Terrell Owens bring? Were there great receivers alongside of him? No. They had Todd Pinkston, who the great line in the playoffs was, he doesn't have alligator arms, he has alligator body. And Freddie Mitchell. Now, yes, they had Brian Westbrook, who was a terrific running back. I mean, they had a shorthanded tight end and Chad Lewis. I mean, they had other players. But Terrell Owens opened everything up in that offense. Even the Brian Westbrook, it opened things up. You had to know where 81 was at all times. He got double-teamed, and it didn't matter. He still would make plays. But it opened things up for other guys. And that's what bringing in a Cooks could do. Now, is that going to make Nelson Aguilar an all-pro receiver? No. More than likely. I mean, you can put in their prime Jerry Rice and Randy Moss on this team. It's not going to make Nelson Aguilar an all-pro wide receiver. But you know what it will do? Maybe it opens things up. Maybe it takes that pressure off the guy. Maybe he does have a better year. Now, by better, it's not saying much after last season, but maybe he shows a little more. Maybe he becomes more comfortable as a wide receiver in the NFL. having a wide receiver on one side is getting all the attention, and you have a veteran wide receiver, again, insert name here, it takes pressure off these young kids. Jordan Matthews, yes, he does have to catch the ball when it's thrown to him. But if you bring Cooks in, it opens things up in the slot for Jordan Matthews. And that's a good thing. It opens things up for the tight end, Zach Ertz, who I would hope would have a big year this coming season and the years to come, who at the end of the season showed that rapport with Carson Wentz. I'd like to see more consistency out of that, out of Zach Ertz. We all want that. And hopefully if they do go out and get a Cooks and a veteran receiver, it just opens everything else up. It just does. And this wide receiving core that was so mediocre becomes a threat. Because you have to atone for Cooks, and you have to, okay, well, here's Ertz, and here's, there's options. What was that word that Sam Hinkie liked to throw around? Was it Sam Hinkie that threw it around, the optionality? Sam Hinkie. But it's true. And you look at the offenses that click in the NFL, and that's why. They have options. And yes, they have some veterans. That helps. The running game. It's something that they need to address as well. Because, look, Ryan Matthews, he just can't stay healthy. And I don't know if Smallwood and Sproles are going to be your answer at running back. And I know there's talks about Jamal Charles. I don't want Jamal Charles. We have a Jamal Charles on this team right now. We have Ryan Matthews who can't stay healthy. Jamal Charles is a terrific running back when he's healthy. He's a game changer type of running back when he's healthy. He really is talented, but he just can't stay healthy. I mean, if you were to ensure me that if they brought him in like a 2 or 3 year deal and he's going to stay healthy for 85% of the games that he's here in that span, I'll take it. I'll take a chance on him. But there's no guarantee at that. There just isn't. And I know there's been some talk in recent weeks about Latavius Murray. To me, Latavius Murray is the type of running back that you bring in if you're already an established team. If you're a team like, a Pittsburgh. If you're a team like I'll even throw the Patriots in there, but it's too easy to throw the Patriots in there. So I'll find another team. If you're a team like, the Packers, I think that's the type of move that you make. But the Eagles are trying to build something. And he's a nice back. He's a nice complementary back on a team. I don't think he's a shoulder-to-the-load type back. He could be, but I just don't think he is. And the last running back we had here, whose last name was Murray, didn't work out too well. And I know that's because Chip was an idiot, but still. Okay, so there's that. The running back that I would have interest in, and I think he still has plenty of tread left on the tires, is Alfred Morris. And Alfred Morris was, if you might remember, was the running back who was with the Redskins for a number of years, and he had really good years. His early years there, he was a game changer. I know RG3 got all the pub, his rookie year, but Alfred Morris had a tremendous season that year, and he was one of the big reasons why they had success that season. And he had another good year after that. He was a solid back, and I know he kind of fell out of favor in Washington. A lot of players tend to fall out of favor with Snyder and the Redskins, right? So, is there a surprise? And I know he backed up Zeke last year in Dallas, and look, you're not going to get the ball out when you have that bell cow there, shouldering the load. So again, he has a lot of tread left on those tires. Is he an every down back? No, but I think if he's still young enough, and I'll throw it out there again. Tread on the tires. He's still young with some good years ahead of him. Why not take a flyer, bring him in, and see what he's got? You don't have to break the bank to get him. Also, I don't believe. So it would be a nice move to make. And if you move on from Matthews, or maybe you phase him out a little bit in the offense this season, you have Alfred Morris with, even if Matthews is still here, you got Matthews, you got Smallwood, you got Sproles, I think they got something there at running back then. Is it a perfect situation? Maybe not, but it's better than what they had. And the other thing about Morris is for most of his career he's been healthy. if I'm not mistaken. He hasn't been an injury-prone back. It's just he fell out of favor in Washington, and he's backing up, a Pro Bowl back in Dallas, so he's not going to get a lot of carries. But I think because of that, he's even more valuable to bring in. He's fresh. So I would take a chance on him. I would. I would, again, I think that would be a solid move. I don't think they're going to draft a running back because they drafted Smallwood last offseason. I just don't think they're going to go high with a back, in the first how many rounds. So it would be a nice move for them to make, to get a Murray. I got Murray on the brain. To get an Alfred Morris. I think that certainly would be a nice move for them. A move I'd like to see them make. You talk about the defense. It's not always the big names, is it? Right? Because who have been some of our best defensive players brought in through free agency in recent years, right? Malcolm Jenkins and Connor Barwin. Both were not big names. When they came here, the year they got Malcolm Jenkins, everybody wanted Jarius Byrd. And Jarius Byrd got overpaid with the Saints, and now they just released him this offseason. Malcolm Jenkins, a lesser-known safety, comes here and shines. Has an all-pro season, probably could have made another Pro Bowl team since he's been here. He's been a playmaker. He's been a leader. He's everything this team needed at the safety position since number 20, was patrolling the field. And it was a great move. It was a move that you didn't hear. It was a name that wasn't really recognized that much. But those are the type of moves that you make, and it works out. It's not just bringing in anybody. You can get a name. You can always get a name. But is that player gonna fit your scheme? Is that player gonna be something when he comes to this team? We've had so many names that they went out. The Byron Maxwells, the Ashamas, all these guys they bring in, and it just next to never seems to work, right? All the dream team, all the this and the that. It just, so it's not always the big names. It's the other guys, but you got to address that. You got to find those players. And that's what they're going to have to do this offseason. Again, with not a lot of money to throw around, it's those type of Malcolm Jenkins out there, the Connor Barwins out there, to bring in and to have success. Guys that are going to, and again, it's not just having any player. It's having players that are going to fit what you want to do, fit this scheme. So that's something they have to address. And I think last season they got a little too former Buffalo Bills happy. And again, Jim Schwartz, those were his guys when he was there. I get it, but it didn't quite work out. So now it's about finding other guys who are going to fit this scheme, who are going to, be playmakers, particularly at the cornerback position, particularly at the linebacker position, outside linebacker. You lose a Benny Logan, they're probably going to lose. And I know Bo Allen, he's a good, promising young defensive tackle, but you have to have that depth. What do you lose with Benny Logan? Yes, you lose a starter, but you lose that depth because Bo Allen now has to play defensive tackle. He has to take over Benny Logan's spot. So you need to replenish that. Now, you can do that in the draft. You can do that in free agency, and that's for the powers to be to do it. But they're going to have to do it. Outside linebacker. When's the last time we've had a really good outside linebacker? I know Jordan Hicks, could play outside linebacker. He's their middle linebacker now. I don't know going into this offseason if they're going to switch him back to outside linebacker. Probably he'll still be the middle linebacker, more than likely. The guy's a playmaker. You can put him anywhere. He's going to make plays. But you have to add to Jordan Hicks. You have to find, a couple other linebackers who can play outside, or maybe a linebacker who can play inside, so Jordan can go back outside. That's something that's going to be big for this defense going forward. Can they do that in one offseason? Can they fit all of these different pieces they need? I don't know. But they're going to have to sure try. Particularly, we talk about, okay, they're going to lose this guy, they're going to lose that guy. Well, you have to replenish that. If you lose Barwin and you lose Kendricks, you have to replenish it. You have to get guys who are going to not just come here, but going to play well. Going to fit this system and become that defense that we all want to see. So my hope for this offseason is that they can really start to build this defense. Build guys around the Jenkins and the Hicks and the Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. You know, build this defense. Really start, because in this division, look, you got a lot of weapons on these other teams, and you need to be able to slow them down. You look at the firepower in this division, particularly at wide receiver, and it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And now you got Prescott, you got Zeke Elliott, Eli, I know we have a lot of success with Eli, but they still got, Beckham to throw to. They have weapons, other young receivers. If they get an AP or something like that, running back, you have to atone for that, whatever Washington's going to do. If they retain Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, those are still receivers you have to be able to cover. And of course they got, Reed there at tight end. So there are a lot of weapons in this division alone. And we're not even talking about the Packers. And we're not even talking about, Seattle or some of the other teams in the NFC that you have to battle with, over the next how many years before this team starts to really start to ascend. It's about building that defense, they have some of the cornerstones already in place, but now you got to build to that. And that's going to be what they have to do this offseason, next offseason, really put this thing together. And offensively, like I said, if they make that move, and I get the feeling they're not, but if they make that move and they get Cooks and they give up the 14th pick to get him, that's a big step. And it also shows, the biggest thing about making a move like that is it shows that they are determined to put weapons around this quarterback and not make the same mistakes that were made in the previous regimes when Andy was here, when they had Donovan, and they just never had that wide receiving core around him until Terrell Owens came years after. And oh, by the way, then they go to a Super Bowl that next season. Yeah. It's not making that same mistake this time around with the franchise quarterback, with a young franchise quarterback. And it's about putting an offense around him. And like I said, Cooks is a young receiver. Yeah, they can draft a young receiver, but it's always taking a chance. You don't know what they're going to be. You kind of know what Cooks is. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. Yeah, it would suck. The draft's here. We wouldn't have a first-round pick to cheer or hug the commissioner, and wear the Eagles hat. I get that. But again, I forget if I said this or not, but I will take not having to cheer on the first day of draft night to be able to cheer during the season to watch Cooks score a touchdown against Dallas or against the Giants or Redskins, or open something up for another player to catch the game-winning score against one of those teams. I'll cheer then, and I think I would rather cheer then than all the pomp and circumstance on draft night where, could this player work out or won't they work out? We've had so many examples of when they didn't work out, being a first-round pick. So we've seen that side of it. We've seen some good, but we've seen our share of bad, haven't we? Come on, Eagle fans. Let's be honest with ourselves here. Insert Nelson Aguilar. So I would almost rather go with the known than go with the unknown. And okay, just for a chance to cheer in Philly on draft night. If you have a chance to give up that 14th pick for a proven, a wide receiver and a playmaker, which is something this team desperately needs at that position, I would take it. I would take it and deal with, the unknown at that point, is going forward through the seasons. Yes, they have to build other areas. Again, cornerback is a must on defense, but if you have a chance to get a proven wide receiver, and that's one of the biggest glaring needs on this team, that's what you got to do. And if they don't do it and Tennessee gets him, well, okay, hopefully they hit on the draft. Hopefully, or they get in the free agency, they can go out and get impactful wide receivers that can help this team. That's going to be where Howie Roseman and the Brain Trust earn their money. I know we've dealt with trust the process around here for many years with the Sixers, but that's where the Brain Trust, we have to trust that they're going to get it right. I do think that there's a lot of brightness ahead in the future, particularly with our quarterback, but you have to give him weapons. And like I said, those are the type of moves that I'm hoping that they make. If I was doing it, it would be Cooks. It would be a veteran wide receiver to go with that, and Alfred Morris. And I think that would be a solid offseason right there. Now, obviously, offensive line, that's something that they're going to have to, you know, build on as well. And hopefully they can add some depth there this offseason, whether it be through the free agency, whether it's through the draft. I think there's some young, solid pieces there, but they got to build on that. And we'll see. Time will tell. I'm excited. I'm excited for this offseason. I'm excited for the future of this franchise. I think we do have some pieces in places that we can be really, you know, pumped and happy for going forward. Here's that word again. It's a process. It takes time. When Chip Kelly left, when he got fired, come on, it was a mess. And it's going to take a few years to clean up that mess. And I think they're on the right track. I really do. And I hope that they make the right moves this offseason, whether it's trading for Brandon Cooks, whether it's whoever they draft in the first round, the free agency. It's building off of what they did with drafting Carson Wentz. Now you got to build on that. And they've been proud of that, and rightfully so. But don't just be proud of that one moment. You got to be proud of many moments to build a championship caliber team. It takes time, and it takes making the right moves. But hopefully that's something that this team can do going forward into this offseason. So I look forward to it. My next video will probably be after the draft, after that whole, you know, deal goes through, and, you know, whatever they do in the draft, you know, kind of assess how they did it and assess the free agency period at that point too. But that's my hope going forward. And, you know, as always, I hope you all enjoyed the videos. A little impromptu season of the fan video. I really didn't think I would have a video until after the draft, but then all this talk about Brandon Cooks started up, and there was a lot of debate, you know, a lot of debate within our Eagle Nation out there, and I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents into the mix too, for whatever it's worth. The Eagles don't listen to me. The Eagles don't listen to any of us. But other, fans can listen to us here on YouTube. So, like I said, I enjoy doing this series, and I look forward to the 4th season of it coming up. My goodness, it's already been 4 seasons, and so yeah. But anyhow, as always, go Birds. Let's make the right moves, the right decisions going into the 2017-2018 season and then beyond. All right, everyone, take care.